Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic, and welcome back to episode 304 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast. And yes, my voice is complete trash today, so I thank you for your patience bearing with me. But it is Chosen a Valhalla stream number 1, and I will be introducing my Chosen in just a second. Before, though, that I do that, please make sure you smash that like button and light up that fire button if you're watching over in Odyssey. Because of my voice being in the state that it is, I'm obviously going to allow for my Chosen to pick up some of the talking today. So, with that being said, I'll go ahead and introduce everyone of the Chosen who has showed up so far, and we'll introduce the others if any others do show up. But first off, the modern Major General of the channel, Laura Story. Laura,
Hi
how's
there.
it going?
Good. Thank you very much for having me today.
Of course.
No pressure at all.
I know, right? It's no pressure at all because y'all have to start to pick up some of the slack where my voice is not going to be able to keep up.
Yeah, I've always considered myself a wingman, personally.
Well, hey.
The wife is the funny one, and I just stand there to add on to whatever she has to say.
Well, hey, I think today the wingman's going to have to step up a little bit.
I'll do my best.
But thank you for being here, and I really do appreciate it. All right, we also have joining us today from the road, so his volume might be a little low. I think he played around with some things, but we'll see. And that is the K-Man. K-Man, how's it going?
I'm doing good. Can y'all hear me now?
Oh, it's even worse. I don't even know what's going on because it's like barely anything on my end, at least.
Let me, is there anything coming through now?
You're coming through, but still pretty low. By the way, Tina, you are here. I just haven't put you on screen yet. So,
yes.
Tina,
Hello,
that's
Tina.
what you want to, because you're because I see her freaking out in the main chat. You're here. You're just not on the stream yet. You're in the background right now. I'm introducing y'all. But anyway, K-Man, hopefully we can get your volume sorted out throughout the stream. But thank you for being here and joining us from the road. All right, and joining us officially now, she is the Empress of the Universe. She is the amazing Valkyrie, Tina B. Tina, how's it going? Now you're in the stream. Hey, Tina, you're in the stream now.
She's typing furiously.
I know, that's some furious typing going on from Tina.
Tina, we can hear you.
She might need to put her headphones on.
There we go. I just told her.
Yeah, no, she might be listening.
I don't know. Am I here?
Yes,
you are here.
Okay.
Welcome.
I don't know why it wouldn't let me in. Hi.
No, so Tina, you were in, but you were backstage.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope you all didn't hear me drop that F-bomb.
Oh, no. When you're backstage, we can't hear anything that people backstage say. And it doesn't, again, not until I let y'all in does that happen. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
but welcome, Tina. How are you doing?
Welcome.
Otherwise?
Hi. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the States. And yeah, I'm doing good. Got my dressing made and got my sweet potatoes baked so I can make my casserole tomorrow. So.
Okay. Nice.
So.
Well, very good. Glad to have you here. My voice.
Oh my God.
Yeah, my voice is complete and utter trash. Don't worry, people.
Gosh.
Don't worry, people. I'm aware of that. Luckily, it does not hurt. It just sounds terrible. It sounds worse than what it actually is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. But because it is the week of Thanksgiving, and because I had an off day today, I figured it would be a good day to have kind of part 1 of the Chosen stream, because I know that usually, right, when we have our Chosen stream, not everyone can always make it, and so having the split into 2, I feel like gives people the best chance to be able to make time to be able to jump on. And so I'm very thankful that Laura, K-Man, and Tina are here today, and Andrew Hoyle might show up One of the many reasons why I was trying to work out times was so that Andrew Hoyle could join us. But he wasn't. He was responding to everyone else in other sections of the Discord except for me until Tina got on him about it. And so I thank you for Tina for pushing him to actually respond. But anyway, again, thank you all for being here, whether you're watching on YouTube, DLive, Odyssey, or on Twitter. It really does mean a lot for y'all being here. All right, so let's go ahead and go around the horn and see what people have been watching recently. And
I hear an echo.
I hear an echo too. I don't know who changed something. Anyway, so I think it's gone now. Let's go ahead and start off with Laura. Laura, you've been watching anything recently? I know that you're kind of a movie buff like I am, going like to go into the theater, actually see a film there. So what have you seen recently and what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah. So I went to see, we were looking around for something to watch, and there was a week where there just wasn't much in the theaters, and came across this Bollywood action movie.
Yes.
I just had this really weird, like, long name. It was Suravanchi, and so I pulled up the trailer to see what it was about, and yeah, it's so we all think Bollywood movies. We think about the large singing and dancing with the large groups of people, and so I pulled it up, and it was like a straight on serious like 90s action movie, but had this nice long trailer. So I was like, that sounds good. I'll go watch that. It was playing at a local theater, and It was so weird. I mean, it was weird, like in a good way weird, So I've stumbled into what is called the cop universe in the Bollywood arena, where they've had all these different. It started out with a cop. Okay, so wait, let me go back. So
let me circle back to that.
Let me go back. So Suravanchi is a police detective in India, and he's trying to protect Mumbai from a bomb attack that's being planned. And this is actually part of an entire series of movies they call the Cop Universe, where the first one, what was his name? So the first one was Simba, I believe. He was a police captain, kind of doing the same thing, fighting against terrorism and crime and stuff like that. And then there was a second one whose name escapes me at the moment. And this is the third or fourth movie in that series. So it was, it was a kind of a typical action movie where the guy did his own stunts and he did his own fighting. And but then, like, in the middle of the movie, he does this like romantic song and dance with a love interest, and then there's all this like weird comedy in the middle. I think Cayman saw it also, because we were all joking around in Discord about it, that it was really interesting. I mean, even though there were subtitles, you could kind of follow along the gist of the movie. You didn't really have to read all of the subtitles because it was pretty straightforward. But
I have a lot more respect. I have a lot more respect for you when you said subtitles, because obviously the debate is always over subbed versus dubbed, and there's a very strong contingency of people who much prefer the subs, right? Because you actually get to hear the natural, unlike mine, the natural voices, right, in their actual language. And so you get the actual emotions of the people rather than the English, trying to convey the same emotions, but sometimes just completely epically failing for a wide variety of reasons. But that's interesting that it has a 90s action film feel to it.
Yeah, it was. I remember the name. The first guy was Simba, and he's just this gigantic guy. And, he played kind of like a neighborhood cop who kept all the bad guys in line. So I watched about half of his movies on Netflix. I watched about half of it. Same thing. The leading man is very strong, and he has a love interest who they end up having a love song kind of in the middle of the show, and dancing, which is it's like these guys kind of do it all. You know, they do their own stunts. They're doing a lot of martial arts. They're doing all their fighting scenes. They're singing. They're dancing. It's quite a show.
So there's 90s action, and there is also music in it too. Like, is there singing and like, is there a big singing and dance number as well?
Oh yeah, in the Suravanshi movie, they do a love song, and then he does a song later, and then the girl does a really good song and dance. She's like dancing in the rain and flinging her hair around.
Of course,
It's very
yes.
entertaining.
The way it should be, one could say.
The way it should be. Yeah, I mean, it was funny because the bad guys in the movies were Muslims who had come over from Pakistan, who were trying to bomb Mumbai, and they must have said like a dozen times. They were like, "We love all Muslims," you know. They were like trying to make a point that this wasn't some kind of like disagreement with Muslims in general. It's like they must have said it a dozen times. They had some cops who were working in India, but who were Muslim. So they kept, it's like, we're not going to take any grief for being anti-Muslim here. We just, you know, we love everybody, guys. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, you kind of feel like their hand was almost forced. Like if they were going to try and play that off, they had to kind of, you know, be able to make up for it in some way by saying, we are not saying that all, you know, it's like, I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting. And
yeah, it you know, it worked. It was like these weird shifts in the tone of the movie, but I don't know, that just may be the way that Bollywood movies are, because the Simba movie was like that, and the Singham movie, it just it worked. I don't know, it's just maybe the way they do their movies.
Okay.
But I was surprised how crowded the theater was, and everybody was like really into it.
And you had said, I think, that what was kind of surprising for you especially was that it was not purely an Indian crowd either, that it was actually a lot of, essentially a mixed group of people, right? So including a lot of white people, I'm assuming, that were in the theater as well.
Yeah, it was about half and half, which I was like, oh, wow, this must be like a thing.
Yeah.
But it was, the funniest part was, okay, so we've had previous movies with Singham and Simba, and halfway through the Suravanshi movie, you know, they get introduced to kind of come and help Suravanshi fight crime, and they they have these like ridiculous over the top entrances where like when the car comes, this police car comes smashing through this wall, and Simba's like laying on the hood of the, you know, car, just like, you know, here I am. And then Singham, he's the coolest one. He's got like this cool stash, you know, and he his entrance, the car comes in and it starts to spin, and as it's spinning, he like jumps out, you know, and starts like firing his guns at the bad guys. So
nice.
I mean,
That
it's,
sounds
you know,
pretty
it's
fun,
one
actually.
of those things. Well, when it switches into dramatic mode, it's amazing how good the actors are with the drama. And then, you know, same thing with the comedy. It's like they can kind of do it all. I mean,
Yeah.
I felt, you know, I thought I would kind of be like, I was thinking about it. It's like, it's weird that it worked as well as it did, but it did.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like that comment at the end about the acting as well. It's one of the reasons why I have a lot of skepticism about, I don't know if you heard this in the news, but they apparently are doing a American remake of Train to Busan, and it's going to be like Train to New York or something like that. And it's like, oh my goodness. Like I know the one thing, other than just the concept being stupid, the one thing that is just going to be terrible is, you know, they're just going to cast terrible actors who are not going to be as good as the original actors from the original South Korean film. You know, it's crazy how, you know, how they just, for some reason, just don't seem to get it.
Yeah, it's Train to Busan, and I did rewatch Squid Game. I think that's the third time.
Nice.
But every time you get so much more out of it, you know.
Mm.
But yeah, I look forward to. I got to finish this Singham movie, and then I can't find the Simba movie anywhere. But I'm sure the Suravanshi movie will probably be on Netflix eventually. I think it was like sponsored by them, or they're doing stuff everywhere.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me because Netflix is kind of known for bringing everything in, like again everything in. So it would not surprise me if they had like some deal with a lot of Bollywood directors and were like sponsoring them like to have a theatrical run and then comes exclusively to Netflix.
Yeah, it's like the Singham. He's more of the serious one. The Simba guy, he is the comic relief. So his movies were funny, and then I don't know. Surivanchi's kind of a mix of everybody. every time he does he has like his own, they all have their own theme song, right? So every time he does something dramatic, you hear the guys in the background going, Surivanchi. And then his little theme starts.
Oh, that's awesome. That actually sounds like a really fun time.
It was. There are some other movies coming out, in that same vein in the future, so it's going to be fun. Something new.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And it's we feel like there isn't a lot of new original content really coming out these days. So it's interesting because I don't have much of a knowledge of the history of Bollywood, but I'm kind of wondering if they're falling into a similar problem, or if everything that they come out with, because they come out with so many films in a given year, if all of them are like original, or at least original in concept, with maybe like some derivatives of another film, or like not necessarily completely remake like the Train to Busan one, for instance, but actually it's interesting just how much more talent there seems to be in every other part of the world compared to Hollywood.
Yeah, it was really fun to watch. If anybody watches this movie, there's a car chase scene towards the end of the movie that was obviously CGI'd very badly. So it's it's not perfect, but it was entertaining.
Yeah. Well, I imagine the budget for that film is probably not anywhere near some of the budgets of these Hollywood films, which we all know have been pretty bad, especially this year. Yeah.
Kim-Ann, are you here? Did you watch it in the theater? Didn't you? Did you?
No, because the only thing
Tina, I didn't realize your name was K-Man.
Oh, did you say K-Man? Oh, I'm sorry. Because I'm looking off to the side. I was looking at something else. I'm sorry.
You were thinking about the Thanksgiving feast, weren't you?
No, I'm kind of watching Midnight's Edge out of the corner of my eye, and they're ripping Masters of the Universe apart.
Oh, so you're watching competition. That's what I just heard.
Yeah, I'm multitasking, and plus I'm looking at recipes too. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Wow. I don't know whether to be impressed or hurt by that.
Well, you're in there somewhere, Odin. So
I know. At least I'm up somewhere.
Yeah.
But I got So K-Man, because I know you've been kind of dropping in and out. Did you get to see it in theaters? Oh no.
Is he gone again?
Oh, poor K-Man. Yeah, for anyone watching, he's been trying to connect from his car. He's on the road, and unfortunately, it looks like there's a lot of technical issues there. But
well, K-Man, just jump in if you get reconnected. Just talk over me. It's fine. Yeah.
All right, yeah, still not. But since K-Man's still not hearing him yet, so Tina, had you heard anything about these movies?
I had from Laura.
Okay.
And then I looked at the trailer, and I was like, oh my gosh, Daniel Craig, Tom Cruise, step aside. The real men are in town. So, no, it's only playing at the Cinemark right now, and the performance is like 9 or 10 at night, and I'm not going over there and taking a chance I can't get an Uber home. So
yeah,
I would love to see it though, because it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I think like
you hear?
Oh, K-Man?
Oh no, still can't hear you, dude. Oh,
just let us know in the Discord if you want to jump in.
Yeah, Discord or in the private chat as well, over here on Restream as well, where of course you can have fun private conversations behind my back, but in front of my back because I can see it. But anyway, so Laura, what were you about to say?
Yeah, it's just like I can't imagine any actor in Hollywood who could do these roles as good as these guys did. I mean, dancing, singing, dramatic acting, and comedy.
Yeah. When you think about it too, I mean, because you mentioned Squid Game, you know, Lord knows that they're going to eventually try and do like an American remake of that as well, if they haven't started already. And so you think about the characters in that, and you're like, I can't see anyone being able to, as you said, pulling off those characters in the same way. And it comes down to the fact where, well, yeah, because they're made by specific directors with certain characters in mind. And there are huge cultural differences between us and between, you know, a lot of these films and a lot of these projects that are coming out, whether it's South Korea, whether it's Bollywood, whether it's Japan, right? Obviously, there's a huge, very large fan base of anime and manga as a part of the Asgardian community, I know. And so I think that all of these things, you know, when you see them get adapted, they're just not the same. I mean, I can think of a horror film remake, for instance, called Quarantine, which was a shot-for-shot remake of a movie called Rec, or Record. And it was a Spanish film. And I remember, essentially, it was almost exactly a shot-for-shot remake of it. But because it was trying to translate something that was made by and for a different language and culture, it's just not going to translate in the same way. And, you know, though some, I think, have said that it's one of the better adaptations, again, some might disagree with that, but I've heard some people say positive things. It's still one where I think that's kind of where the issue is really not able to, you know, carry over. You can carry over writing, but you can't carry over characterizations, and you can't carry over culture.
Well, yeah, I mean, South Korea is in a unique place because, I mean, it's kind of a new capitalistic country. I mean, relatively speaking, and you know, you have. I didn't realize that Korean it's a completely unique language. It's not like you know, all of the languages in Europe are kind of connected to each other. They all come from a common root. That there's some languages where they don't know where they came from. They're just unique, and Korean is one of those languages. So it's a different kind of culture.
Yeah.
But like every place is, but I don't think a lot of the anti-capitalist arguments are going to translate as well as people think that they will. Yeah.
And it's also one of those things too, where, you know, people call out the anti-capitalist messaging of, you know, something like a, you know, Squid Game. But then you're like, yeah, but it's being sold to make money. So at the same time, it's like that argument can only really go so far. And I think that it's more like it's the same argument kind of like with Parasite, which I know Tina is not a fan of at all. But you know,
it's not just Tina.
Oh yeah, absolutely not just Tina. But I think out
You
of
didn't
everyone,
like it either?
No.
I think out of everyone on the panel, I think we could all agree that if there's anyone who hates it most, it's Tina.
This is true.
But even in that movie, right, there's class distinctions, right, and some type of even, you know, like, as you can almost say, class warfare in a certain respect. But even in that film, there's so many nuances because it doesn't show the impoverished in an incredibly positive light. You know, like they're not by any means heroes in that story. And so I think that sometimes we attach ourselves to very specific things and then ignore other things as well. And I think that can sometimes lead to us almost, you know, missing the forest for the trees, as it were, in my own view.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, people need to be really careful when they talk about supplanting a system, no matter what that system is, you know, the family, capitalism, the Constitution of the United States. It's like, okay, well, tell me first what you're going to replace it with. You know, it's like so many people who are anti-capitalist. It's like, well, you know, if you come up with something better, you just let us know, because, you know, that's a huge problem I have with a lot of people who are anti.
Yeah.
It's like, you're just anti. You don't have a solution for any of these problems. We're just going to blow everything up and see what happens.
Yeah, it's like the Fight Club mentality, right? It's just like, let's just completely, you know, blow everything up. But then there's never okay, what do we do from here? And I think the assumption is, well, no matter what it is, it's going to be better. but that is not necessarily true, because when you tear down an entire system, it means that you're going to leave some people in power. And when you blow things up haphazardly, you don't know who's going to be in power. You don't know if you're going to like those people who are in power. And in the end, it could actually end up leading to a much worse system overall. So there's right ways of doing things and wrong ways of doing things for sure. But yeah, it's again a very interesting discussion that I don't think a lot of people typically think all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on in Squid Game that, I mean, I've seen extensive videos breaking down the different games and the different levels, and there's a lot there to analyze. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff out there about it.
oh yeah.
Let's see. What else? Ghostbusters Afterlife, of course.
Yes. So what
Yes.
were you a thumbs up, thumbs down on that film?
Oh God, it's great. It just
Yeah.
the feel, like the vibe of the movie. It's just like this is what movies in the 80s used to be like. It's just fun. Yeah, there were a lot of people crying towards the end of the movie, and it just shows that a lot of these movies that were made when I was younger, they just have such emotional staying power. They're not limited to any specific decade. Like, you could go and watch. I rewatched Ghostbusters, and I'm like, it's just as good. You could watch this on TV today. I could show my daughter this and she would enjoy it. So
Yeah, there's a timeless quality to a lot of 80s films, by the way. I finished one 80s film today, actually.
Oh, fun.
Earlier. Yeah. Well, you say, oh, fun, but it's going to get me in trouble with
oh
some
no,
people.
it's
Because it was, I finally finished a movie that I started and was not really liking all that much. And I can say that I am still not much of a fan. However, I definitely have more positive things to say about it. And that, of course, is the film Excalibur
Yeah.
from 1981, for those who maybe have been missing that conversation or that inside joke. But I'll get to that in just a little bit. But there is something I think special to, especially like mid-late 80s films. And I think that you're right. Afterlife kind of captures that. And it helps when there are these elements. And I talked about this with Michelle from Force of Light on Saturday, where we talked about like the music cues. Right, you have cues from the original score
Yes.
that made it in, and that especially, I think, kind of lifted that 80s vibe as well, because you're like, oh, I'm just getting all these flashbacks to the original film, and it's great.
The one song I did miss is that piano piece that they play. It's the Ghostbuster song. Like, I think when they're going out on their first run, they didn't play that in the Afterlife movie, and I was kind of looking forward to it. So
Okay. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that, but I'll have to look and see. I'll have to listen back to it, because I think I know what you're talking about. Because is that something that plays? I want to say it might be in the second film. Maybe it is in the first, but it's when Sigourney Weaver and Bill Murray's character are talking like out in the street. Is that like the piano piece you're talking about?
No, it's kind of jazzy. It's upbeat, and it's
Okay.
right when you first see the Ghostbusters logo on the side of the Echo One in the first movie.
Okay.
It's like Ghostbusters coming to clean up the town. Oh yeah, and then the Ghostbusters. Don't make me sing.
Don't make me sing. Definitely don't make me sing, because no one's gonna be happy.
That would wreck you right now.
Yeah, I would sound even more so like Harvey Fierstein than usual. So, and shout out to anyone who knows who I'm referencing there, because anyone who knows the name Harvey Fierstein must be a fan of at least some musical theater or theater in general. And I salute you if you are. But yeah, I mean, Ghostbusters Afterlife really, I think, just kind of hits a lot of really great emotional points. And what were your thoughts on the younger cast? Because I know there's been some, I think, not controversy necessarily, but some disagreement over the focus on the younger actors in it. What were your thoughts about them?
Oh no, I thought they all did a great job. Podcast and Phoebe. Don't remember the actress's name. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I don't see anything to complain about. I don't. Yeah, I mean, they did put a lot of weight on that girl to carry. She seemed to carry a lot of the movie and did a fantastic job. So there's a, what was it Jeremy John said? She's going to need to take a break after this movie for carrying the entire movie on her back.
And
yeah.
I would totally agree with that assessment as well, right?
Yeah, Jeremy Johns was really off the mark on this movie. That's weird of him. I normally kind of concur with a lot of what he says, but
yeah, normally he's pretty good on a lot of things, but as we all know, right? Not everyone is always going to have the best takes in the world, you know.
Sometimes there's a beloved 80s classic that people just
you know?
don't like.
Sometimes there's a 1981 classic, or so-called classic, I should say, that some people really enjoy.
No, that strikes so-called. It is a classic. You can't help it if your taste. Okay.
Well, to get into it,
we were talking about Legend, right? Like we were talking about Legend, right?
No, Legend came out in the 90s.
It was, yeah, I know. It was more so a recall to last night's conversation.
And
anyway.
when you said, who was it that he said was in Legend? And I was like, oh my God, what is he talking about?
So there is a movie, and I want to say it's called Legend with, oh my goodness, why am I blanking out? Tom Hardy.
Yeah,
Tom
the
Hardy.
Venom dude, yeah.
I want to say it's called Legend. It's where he plays two characters. He plays himself and his brother. And I'm pretty sure it's called Legend. So that's why I was very confused, because I was like, I didn't know that was Ridley Scott. And wait a minute, director's cut of that. Why would anyone want that? And then like I looked down at one point and I'm like, oh, literally it's staring me in the face because I got it from
and it's Ridley Scott, so he's probably got a billion other cuts of it that we've never seen before, and they will be coming in the next few years.
Yep. Oh, it's just, yeah, I remember, the Gladiator sequel, right? I mean,
he keeps threatening. He keeps threatening us with that. Somebody needs to take care of him and KK immediately before they terrorize us.
And by take care of, I just for the sake of
for liability reasons.
What we mean is he should be put into like an old filmmaker's home, right? Where nothing bad happens to them, but they can't make movies anymore because it would just be detrimental to our own psyches and society if they did. So
agree.
Yeah, that's
wink,
what you meant.
Wink, wink. Oh, you all couldn't see me wink.
But no, I agree about the assessment. Going back to the original point about the young kids. Yeah, I mean they were so great, and I don't know about you, Laura, but I laughed at every single one of her jokes.
I know. Just there's nothing worse than a good bad joke.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God.
Well, it was dad jokes being said by a small child. I don't know what's not to be, hilarious about that. I just thought that the dichotomy was pretty great.
Oh yeah, everybody in the theater cracking up. It's weird to see comedic timing like that in a young kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean I think it was the first one she said where she like added that very perfectly timed wink, and it's just like, oh yeah, that's so great. And it's crazy that that's the same actress that played young Carol Danvers in Captain Marvel. And obviously, I mean, that was nothing. Like as a role, that was like drop in the bucket, like small, like very, very small role in general. Because I think that version, like that age of the character only gets so much screen time. This is like a full-fledged, she is the lead, right? And as Jeremy Johns rightly correctly said, she carries the film. And she does a great job. You need to have a young actor that has that capacity. My only concern for her, if I had any negative, is that, okay, now we see how talented she is. And now I'm worried about what's going to happen to her as she goes through Hollywood. Because we all know, right, Hollywood is a disgusting, terrible place. And when you have young performers who give performances like this, they get a lot of attention. They tend to be like, again, used and abused in a wide variety of ways. Obviously you can think about some of the worst extremes out there, but even just in a general sense, being put into every other film that comes out, right? Being typecast, and it leads to a lot of emotional damage, even at the more like, I guess, basic outside level. So that's like the only negative thing I would say is that, okay, now people know how talented she is. And so, I hope that she's able to have a good manager. Hopefully she has great parents as well, who will be able to like guide her through that and guide her through the now, she's going to be very well known, right? She's famous at this point. I mean, it's not the biggest film in the world as far as box office goes, but it's pretty big still.
Yeah, I'm reading a really good book right now by Ron and Clint Howard about I think it's called The Boys. It's
Okay.
I think Tina, I think you'd enjoy it. It tells the behind the scenes story of how they got into acting and how their parents were there. I guess their parents were also actors. Never got famous or anything, but how his dad helped guide them through Hollywood and how they saw kid actors who didn't do well, who had bad parents. And I'm only a couple chapters in, but it's really entertaining.
Nice.
Yeah.
That definitely sounds like a Tina book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because she's all about the behind the scenes
She likes that
commentary.
Hollywood stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Not a big fan of Ron Howard anymore, but
Yeah. Well, why was it because he took over and who knows what he did on Solo: A Star Wars Story? Or,
no. That's I got iffy about him after he did 2 movies with Russell Crowe and called him his friend. And then when Russell got into that trouble, it was right after Cinderella Man got made, and the so-called friend just cut him off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you don't need friends like that you don't even know what the circumstances were. And so after that happened, I was like, no. And Ron Howard, his directing career's kind of gone down the toilet. So I'm like, you know what? That's karma for what you did to the man that you called a friend. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm going to return that book then.
You don't have to, but
I didn't know any of that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And when I was packing, I ran across one of my old movie magazines where it was Russell, Ron Howard, and Renee Zellweger on the cover for Cinderella Man. And I said, oh, the good old days before Ron turned his back on you. So...
Oh my!
The one saving grace of this book might be that it's not just Ron Howard, but Clint Howard as well.
I like Clint.
So,
Clint's funny.
Yeah, his chapters are hilarious. I have to go and finish that.
So maybe just rip out the Ron pages and just keep the Clint, and it just becomes half a book. But
Odin
it's
comes out for
parts.
book ranging all of a sudden.
I said you do it, not that everyone does it. That's a whole other animal.
Yeah. So let's get into Excalibur because I did rewatch it.
Okay.
And it does, yeah. So I mean, the first thing that I noticed is at first the sound is just really bad because you've got all these guys fighting in full armor and they're screaming at each other and just it's just all clank 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 clank. And they're trying to scream over all of that. Yeah, it was just the beginning is kind of a cluster, but
and that's one of the many things that with the beginning especially focusing on that because I think that kind of sets the tone and kind of set the rest of the tone, at least for me in my own experience. And just with the way everything plays out, everything's happening very, very quickly, and then there's the whole use the dragon's breath and make me look like so-and-so so that I can sleep with this, with the grain. And it's just what?
That's just what happened though.
And again, and that's where by the end of the film, I was able to kind of look at it and say, you know what? I feel like this is a film that its goal was to try and touch upon so many different aspects of the Arthurian legend in different ways. And I think it does that. But yeah, it's just that was just I don't know if it translated well in the way that they did it, especially with the very, just from my own view, it was very ham-fisted acting, very over the top. And also something about the color and the there was like a haziness to the film too.
Yes. Yeah.
Where it just looked so like, I don't know, it was like a dream sequence almost in tone and look throughout the entirety of it. And for me, it just didn't play very well.
That's what I thought that they were trying to do, is to go for this kind of glowy, everybody's wearing like bright silver or gold. I think they're trying to go for this kind of Camelotish, shiny feeling. I think it did win quite a few awards for costumes, and which you could see. But
for sure.
I think the beginning for me seemed a little clunky. But right when it gets into the Arthur part, that's where and of course seeing Patrick Stewart on a horse like clobbering people, that was always entertaining.
Yep.
I mean, he was the only one who looked like, a lot of them didn't look natural when they were fighting. He was the only one he was like on horseback and swinging his axe around and stuff. He was the only one who looked like he had any experience, like either wearing armor or fighting with heavy weapons like that. He played Guinevere's dad, in case anybody's not sure who he was.
And I was very impressed because it was very clear that he was actually riding the horse. And like he was doing, like there was some pretty, I would say, complex writing going on. And so kudos to Sir Patrick Stewart for being able to do that without having the close-up cam where you can tell, or the far-away cam where you can tell that someone else is doing it instead. No, I thought that was really cool. And yeah, I mean, I think some of the action sequences were pretty well done. As you say, costuming was brilliant. I do think the costuming was great. Production design, right? Set design, all those elements I think are there. It's just, for me, I think it comes down to the direction and the acting that I had issues with personally. Mm-hmm. Like I think it had all the other elements were there, but I think that if it had been taken by a more, I guess, just a more serious director.
It was a serious director. It was John Borman, who was one of the top directors at the time.
I'm not saying that he wasn't a top director.
He did Deliverance.
I'm just saying what we got came across as just a 80s cheesy movie.
Oh, you would hate Camelot the musical then. Oh my goodness.
That's what I was going to say.
But that's a musical, so there's a difference there, right?
No, it's an overall, it's like a 3-hour freaking musical that went on and on and on. And it's like, will you hurry up and just commit adultery, burn Guinevere at the stake, whatever you're going to do? Gosh.
Wow. Guinevere. I love that musical, Tina. And I love that musical.
It's got such good music. It just is not. I have sat through the whole movie and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going on forever.
Was it Richard Harris or Peter O'Toole? It was Richard Harris.
Richard Harris played Arthur, and no, Robert Goulet didn't play him in the movie. I can't remember who played him in the movie. Was it Franco Nero? And then of course they had Lynn Redgrave, who is just not Lynn Redgrave, the other Redgrave. I can't think of her name. The political Redgrave. The one who...
I'm not great with names, so...
She's Vanessa. I think it's Vanessa. Yes. Yeah. The one who accepted her Emmy and then got up there and turned the Emmys into her political platform.
Right.
And got booed off the stage. Because that's when they still booed people off the stage.
Oh, wait. I want to go back. So, I understand your issues with a lot of the sex scenes. But I mean, I did feel like, especially the first one, it showed how out of his mind that he was for this woman, and then the later, I mean, I could see the final one was kind of disturbing.
Yeah, that you could say that at the very least.
Well, the Guinevere Lancelot one was very, very sweet. But yeah, the final one, I was like, did we really need to see that? I don't think so.
Yeah, and obviously, it's a part of the story, and I will say, like, because they touched on so many different elements, I was able just to learn things that otherwise I really didn't have a lot of knowledge of, because I have not seen a lot of Arthurian adaptations before. and I, have not really. It's not been, even though I like kind of like that aspect of history. I love historical films that deal with that era of time, I guess, which is why originally I was kind of excited for a movie like The Duel, which again I'm still very thankful, because if I had issues with the scenes in this movie, I can only imagine the issues that I would have had with what's portrayed in The Duel. But yeah, and I will get back, because Tina had mentioned something too that I forgot to praise. But man, oh man, I will say that the score is fantastic. The score is absolutely phenomenal
For
in
Excalibur, yeah.
For Excalibur.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is from
Just
from Wagner's Götterdämmerung
Mhm.
and his Siegfried. And that was my introduction to Wagner's ring music, was hearing it through Excalibur.
Yeah.
So, and I love the first three operas. I don't like Götterdämmerung because it goes on forever.
Well, we have someone else joining us for our discussion, and I think. Okay, K-Man just left. Again, K-Man, I'm sorry if you're still listening to this and you just haven't been able to connect. But yeah, at no point at any time were we able to hear anything just from your end. But Mr. Roy is here, and I think he might also be on the road.
I just got home. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, I just literally just got home, just pulled my suitcase and got my laptop out. And
Nice.
yeah, sorry for
jump
the
on.
sorry for the audio quality. I'm literally on a Bluetooth headset right now.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just glad that we can hear you. And again, apologies to the K-Man for this technical difficulties. But no, yeah. I mean, again, you're gonna apologize for audio quality. How do you think I feel about this voice right now? People having to listen to it and everything. But have you? So, do you have any strong opinions when it comes to Excalibur from 1981?
I've never seen it.
Okay. Can't say I would recommend it wholeheartedly, but I think if you are looking for certain things, or if you do generally like Arthurian tales and adaptations, then I think that it might be something that you would enjoy.
Oh, cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah. And so, yeah, as I mentioned, for me, it's the acting and the direction. And I think that the acting part would kind of get fixed if you had a director. And I know that, again, he may have been a top director at the time, but I don't know. I think if it had been approached as more of a drama, if you know what I mean, I think it may have been, I don't know. I think I would have received it a little bit better than what it was. It just came off, for me, it came off just as very hokey, if that makes sense.
That's fine. Yeah. When I went back and I rewatched King Arthur with Clive Owen, I kind of went back and I was like, oh, that was interesting. I went back and did some like research on King Arthur, and apparently it's kind of, the story's kind of like fan fiction where people have just added on to the story over the years. I mean, it started out with just King Arthur, and then they added Lancelot later, and then even later they added the Grail quest. So this, and then the musical added stuff also. So it's just kind of a story that's just evolved with the times.
Yeah.
So,
which is interesting because you mentioned that version of King Arthur, which personally I actually am a fan of, not because it's necessarily true to the story by any means, but it's just, again, it's played as it's played as a film that I generally like. Again, it's just a bit more serious in tone. It also kind of introduces certain actors who it was like really their first big role, I think. So I thought that was a really cool thing to see there too. But also what I do find interesting, as you just mentioned though, is that, this kind of this fan fiction, build up over time. Cause one of the things you see at the beginning of the movie is that, new information has been uncovered. And so this is going to tell, the story like it's never been told before. And I never really looked into just how accurate that was, or whether or not like it's based on any actual like research or data. But I do find it interesting that it does try to play itself off as being like more realistic or more true to the tale, in certain ways. And I'm not saying it does that, but it's interesting how that's one of the selling points.
Yeah, it was, it was an interesting movie if you take it out of the whole King Arthur thing. And
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't set in the correct time period, when I was younger. But now I'm just like, hey, that was a pretty fun movie. It's,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think I did see an article somewhere where they think that the actual King Arthur might have lived long before they actually thought that he did. So
hmm
who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, no, we're finding more information all the time about a wide variety of things. So, it doesn't surprise me that we're getting, more and more information about this
I'm
stuff.
not willing to die on the King Arthur Hill. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
any
The-
interpretation that somebody wants to do is fine.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. And Dolores Ed, I have not seen the new Robert the Bruce movie. I didn't know that there was. I haven't seen the old Robert the Bruce movie, so I wouldn't. I saw that was in the comments. And Snorpupa says, having worn medieval armor in real life, I can inform you that it's not made of lovemaking. Even when you fight in it, it's not unusual to get little gouges and oopsies from your own armor. Dang.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, that is
Huh.
incredibly interesting. There's that comment from Snortopoopas. Thank you again for being here, Snortopoopas. So I guess Tina, yeah, where are we wrong on this?
On what?
At least I guess more so. I was saying we, but I think that I'm assuming, Laura, that you like this probably a lot more than I do as far as Excalibur.
Yeah, I think your points are valid. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I guess where am I wrong then, Tina, on the acting and directing part?
Because
specifically?
it's a romantic fantasy.
Okay.
It is based on French literature. Like Laura said, yeah, that's one of those tales. It's like Robin Hood. Everybody's kind of added to it over time. I've never had an issue with it. I don't think there's anybody in my family that's ever had an issue with it. So I just think it's a strong movie on pretty much every point. Now, there are a few moments that I think the pacing kind of fell off. I think during the Grail quest, the pacing kind of went off a little bit, but then it picks right back up again. So no, it's not a perfect movie, but I think it's strong on every element. And I don't have the cast list in front of me, but the actor who played Arthur, they didn't cast a younger actor and then get an older actor when Arthur matured. They used the same actor. He was in Lion in Winter. He played Prince John, Henry II's favorite. And of course, you had Patrick Stewart, Liam Neeson. He's kind of off in the background. I think that was one of his first roles.
Yeah, Kieran Hines in it as well.
Yeah. And so you had all these really good English actors that either had experience or they were coming up. The actress who played Guinevere, I haven't seen her in a lot of stuff. I actually caught her on an episode of Midsummer Murders. I saw her name in the credits and I was like, I thought she looked familiar, but of course she was a little bit older. But no, I've never had an issue with it. I think Oliver Harper on his YouTube channel, he did do an analysis of the movie, and he said the older he got, the more he appreciated it. When he first saw it when he was younger, he said it kind of went over his head, but then the older he got, the more he appreciated it. But no, I'm looking forward to watching the copy that Andrew gave me, which is like an ultimate special edition. I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, was telling my my youngest sister. I was telling her about getting it, and she was like, "I'm jealous." So
I love
yeah.
how they shown the green light on everything. Like you often see it like reflecting off of the Excalibur. There's kind of this green subtones in the light. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, yeah, and I know a lot of it was not like what we would call CGI. A lot of it was done, it's practical. So that's just my take on it. I've never had an issue with it. From the first time I ever saw it, it just sparked my imagination because I already liked Arthurian legend anyway.
Yeah, I think when they went back in and added a lot of the sound effects, there's a lot to be criticized there. Because you have all these knights like slamming into each other.
Yeah.
Dialogue, and it just
tick, 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 like, you know, like the stereotypical fighting sounds, right? Like tick, 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 you know.
ding, ding, dong, ding, dong.
But no, I will say this much though, like, you know, going back to the actors, I'm not, because I don't know if that was lost or not, but I think that as far as the actors go, it's got a great cast. Like the cast of this movie is phenomenal. Like Helen Mirren, young Helen Mirren.
Oh, I forgot about Helen Mirren.
I don't think I've ever seen a young Helen Mirren before, to be honest. So like, cause I just haven't watched a lot of her early filmography, but young Helen Mirren in this movie, playing Morgana, and I thought that was I thought that she did a very good job. And again, all the actors, it's more, I guess, the again, it's just that overall tone. And I think it really comes down to like subjective. I will say you had a word or expression that I think kind of helps to alleviate some of my criticism, and that is that you use the word that it's a medieval fantasy. And I think that, you know, because fantasy genre is one where I guess I'm more used to like fantasy films that are not necessarily based in like historical thought, or you know, not based in necessarily certain kinds of I'm more used to it being something that is not as grounded in reality, I guess you could say. So I guess that's why for me it kind of clashed a bit, you know. And so, but you explaining us, I think that definitely helps to explain kind of the overall tone that the film had. But before going back to that discussion, K-Man, are you with us?
I can try it one more time.
All right, we hear you now.
Hello.
How clear can you hear me?
Can hear you pretty clearly, and I think it's the loudest that we've gotten so far.
I ended up changing around because I got two laptops with me. I changed around to a second one.
Okay.
It seems to be doing better, but
Good.
we'll see.
All right, gotcha. Well, welcome. And also, someone that just came into the backstage is actually a newer member of The Chosen, and that is Dolores Ed. Dolores Ed, how's it going?
Hello.
Hey, I'm good. Is there any kind of echo at all?
No.
Not that I can hear yet.
Awesome. I just keep thinking that I'm waiting for that boomer voice you do, Odin, because I don't know how to use any of this whatsoever.
Well, I wouldn't be able to do the boomer voice today anyway, because I can barely speak in my own voice today. But thanks for jumping in.
No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, K-Man, have you seen Excalibur? And if so, do you have any thoughts on it?
It's been many years ago since I've seen it. Pretty much, I've agreed with a lot of the points that y'all made so far, like with the scoring and all that. Actors, pretty much a lot of them that was like the first movies that I had first ever witnessed anything they did.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry about that. If you hear a rumbling in the background, motorcycle just going by.
That's cool.
I say it's actually not being picked up there. So.
Yeah.
All right.
As far as Excalibur goes, I'll have to go back and rewatch it before I can give my full thoughts on it.
Okay. Gotcha. Dolores Ed, have you ever seen Excalibur 1981?
I want to say that I've seen it. It was one of those, back in the day kind of deals, but I've seen the newest one. I want to either that or I'm mixing it up with Tina's favorite Guy Ritchie, King Arthur. I can't remember. I can't remember. It's starting to blur to the point where if I say something, it's like, oh man, I think that's King Arthur, and I don't want Tina to get on a rant,
We live for Tina rants here. We live for Tina rants.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, you used to see Excalibur on the TV a lot, and I have not seen it on TV at all lately.
Yeah, because it's interesting how you mentioned like the confusing it with another thing. I will say that throughout this movie, because it had more of those fantasy vibes to it, and I guess for me it came across as more cheesy, I just kept getting reminded of, oh, so this is where Monty Python picked this thing up from. Like, oh, this is where, this aspect, because I felt like in certain ways, and maybe I'm, I'm assuming that Holy Grail, wasn't that made in the 70s?
Yes.
So that film being made in the 70s, I'm wondering if it had any impact on this movie, because there were certain things where I'm like, I don't know, like the way it was being presented, I was kind of like, I feel like they're connected in a certain way. I don't quite know why.
I got that feeling when the peasants were digging in the ditch with the sticks. I was like,
I was like thinking the mud. I was just like, oh, I'm just waiting for a speech about oppression and I just was so like, yes, that's exactly one of the scenes I was thinking about.
There's some really good films over here.
There. Oh, how do you do? Oh, it's such great. The other thing that I think comes to mind is that series they did called Merlin. I don't know if any of y'all had watched the BBC series Merlin
with Sam Neill.
No, wait.
Oh,
no.
Is that the one where it's the young boy? He's kind of got high cheekbones and
yes, it's a young Merlin. Very it's like they have it where Merlin and Arthur are like the same age.
Yeah. I have seen that. And John Hurt played the dragon.
Yes, he played the voice of the dragon. Yeah. Anonymous Sam Neill is a movie. Or I guess he meant the one that you're thinking of was the movie. Oh man. All right. Well, I think we've gotten through the Excalibur discussion. And again, I think it's something where, it's going to be, kind of like to each their own, right? Everyone has different favorites. I, for instance, enjoy things like the Fast and Furious franchise. And I know that there are others that don't, so I think that there are going to be some just general disagreements because we all have different taste.
And some of us prefer the Mission Impossible TV show, and others prefer the one with little Tommy Maypother.
Yes, absolutely.
It's all good. Group hug. We're all fine.
Group hug. We're all still friends here. So, Laura, any other films that you had wanted to talk about?
Oh no, I think we did a good coverage of the. I'm glad I rewatched that King Arthur movie from 2004.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get over the little 19-year-old. Oh God, what's her name? Help me, Tina. Pirates of the Caribbean girl.
Keira Knightley.
Skeletor.
Keira Knightley, yeah. Skeletor, wow.
She is really
her.
Wow.
Look at her from a couple of angles. My mother, that was the first thing my mother said was she looks like Skeletor when she turns a certain way. And I said, oh my God, she does.
Anyway.
Asgard does not promote body shaming in any way, shape, or form. I disavow and disassociate myself with the Empress of the Universe.
Skeletor.
I'm going to laugh at that one, though.
I'm just saying, I'm glad I rewatched it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So before going on any further, was there, because I could probably only go for another 30 minutes. So was there anyone that couldn't and likely won't make the Saturday stream?
I won't.
So Saturday.
Probably.
So
what time Saturday do we know?
Around 1 p.m. Eastern.
I'll probably be getting ready to head out.
Okay. Gotcha.
I have no problem with coming back on Saturday.
Okay.
Maybe have a better setup by then.
Okay. And then Mr. Roy, I think you said that you'll be available or should be available.
It's up in the air. I'm not sure.
Up in the air. Okay, yeah. Gotcha. And then what about you, Dolores?
Yeah, I think I'll be pretty good for Saturday.
Okay. So what we'll do then is we'll go then to Tina. And Tina, I know that you probably have a lot of stuff to talk about because for those that don't know, she is our resident film historian.
Thank you.
And with that, she has she always is able to not just watch a lot of films, but also is able to really kind of provide them in their historical context and give kind of deeper insights into them in a way that most of us could never even dream of, which is why I'm always saying that she should start her own channel. But anyway, because Tina is the most likely to not be here, Tina,
Yes.
anything that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'll zip through the lower level ones first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Soul Assassin, rewatched Frankenstein Island. It's as bad as we know it is. So I started watching some Hammer studio movies because I've watched them before and I've seen documentaries on them. I just really haven't sat down and it was like, yeah, I'm going to concentrate on Hammer films. So I saw, well, this is one of my top ones, but I saw Horror of Dracula. That was the first Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing Dracula movie. And it kind of veers away a little bit from the Bram Stoker novel, but it actually works when you see it. And I love the way Christopher Lee plays his Dracula. He's not that suave gentleman that we see from Bela Lugosi. It's just like you can see that animal nature in his eyes, pretty much from when he enters and he's coming down the staircase to greet Jonathan Harker and he's like, I'm Dracula, welcome to my castle. And it's like, oh my gosh, he just took over this entire room with his presence. So anyway, so Horror of Dracula, yeah, I had given it 4 stars, but I also watched Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, and I didn't like it as much. Peter Cushing's not in it at all. It's only Christopher Lee. And from what I had read, the reason why Christopher Lee does not have many lines in the movie is that he hated the script so much that he kind of flat out refused to say any lines. So that kind of works. But the rest of the actors are not really, they're not up to his level, and they're definitely not Peter Cushing. So instead of Van Helsing, we've got a vampire fighting, priest, I guess. No, he would have been like an archbishop or something. And then we've got this drunken priest who ends up falling in with Dracula and is helping him. That was weird. And it's kind of okay, but I just think it needed a stronger script and it needed Peter Cushing. So I also watched Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing's Mummy, which came out in, I think, the late 50s or early 60s. And Christopher Lee plays Kharis, the mummy. So they took the name from the later Universal movies with Kharis. Because in the original Karloff movie, he played Imhotep. But it's basically the same thing. High priest falls in love with princess. They can't be together because she's a high priestess of blah, blah. And then she dies, and then he tries to bring her back from the dead, and so he's punished for that. And then he becomes the mummy later. And I didn't mind the movie, but the biggest nitpick was the quote-unquote archaeology they were doing in the movie, because like after they empty the tomb, they blow up the entrance. And I'm like, so the paintings and everything inside the tomb, you all don't care about those, I guess, since you blew up the entrance. They also just hauled everything on back to England. And I was like, yeah, I think the Egyptian government would have to give you permission to do that. But otherwise, I liked Peter Cushing. He's the son of two his uncle and his dad are both archaeologists. So I like Peter Cushing. I really admired Christopher Lee because he only has lines when they're doing the Egyptian flashback. When he's playing the mummy, he has no lines. He's completely bandaged up. So all of his acting is done through those eyes of his and his hands. So I really have to give him credit for being able to convey what he was trying to do just through that aspect. Okay, my other lousy movies. I saw, this is another Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing movie. It was called The Creeping Flesh. And it's kind of faded in my mind, but the only thing I can remember is Peter Cushing plays this eccentric anthropologist, and he brings these remains back to England, and he thinks it might be one of the first men that ever existed, and then he accidentally spills water on it, and the skeleton remains start growing flesh.
Oh, so it's like Gremlins.
Yes. And Christopher Lee plays his brother, and he runs an asylum, and then a bunch of other stuff happened. And like I said, the movie's kind of faded because it's just, if it wasn't for them, if they just had two other people in it, nobody would even remember the movie. Only reason why I watched it was because I was like, oh, it's Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. So I didn't care for it. I looked at a movie called The Sphinx, and it was one of those poverty roll movies from the early 30s. And if you call a movie The Sphinx, I'm expecting to see something about Egypt in it. And this was set, I think, in New York, and they never went to Egypt. And I was like, yeah, this is a big disappointment. And then I saw this movie. I think I gave it a half a star.
Dang.
On Letterboxd. It's called The Oval Portrait, or 1 Minute Before Death. And it's very, 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 very loosely based on the Edgar Allan Poe short story. And I think if Poe saw this movie, he'd be like, you take the name of my story off your lousy movie. The half star was for the estate that they filmed it at, because the estate was very beautiful and the house was very beautiful. But the story, I think somebody probably watched Dark Shadows because it came out around the same time frame that show was on the air. And they were thinking, oh, we're going to do this kind of gothic soap opera story. And that's not what we got. It's just this horrible story about when they do the flashback. It's about this girl, and her father is this abusive Yankee officer, because it's set during the Civil War. And then this Confederate is injured, and he ends up on the property, and she and the housekeeper that I called not Mrs. Danvers, I got a couple of those. They take care of him while the dad's away fighting the war, and him and her fall in love, and everything's shot under this horrible 70s yellow, green, red filter that I mentioned. Orange, lots of oranges in this movie. And it's just the act. It's like somebody got together with their friends and said, I'm going to go over to Masquerade House and pick up some costumes, and y'all want to make a movie this weekend.
At least it sounds like a relatively warm film from those color choices you just mentioned.
Yeah, yellow, orange, green. Yeah, I think that was the main ones. And so by the time it was like after we go through the flashback, then it's like somebody realized, oh, we've only got like 20 more minutes to this movie. And so it kind of then turned into The Exorcist, Poltergeist, The Shining, with some necrophilia thrown in.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, it was implied, but you knew where it was going.
Oh, boy.
So yeah, that was one I was like, why am I watching this?
My goodness, that sounds like a weird combination of movies.
It was just very strange, and the actors, no one could act. This one woman that was supposed to be playing a daughter looked as old as the woman who was playing her mother. So that completely took me out of it, and none of the costumes were right. I'm a real stickler for costumes, and I was like, no, it's just Edgar Allan Poe's rolling in his grave right now. So And the other 3-star movie I saw is called Invasion of the Vampires. And there's a good movie in there. It's just a really bad dubbing job. And the guy who arranged the dubbing, I knew his name because I've seen him on a million other movies. K. Gordon Murray. So it's a decent movie, but it's just, I think the translations were bad because at one point I was like, okay, are we in Mexico or are we in Germany? Because one character had a German name, but then I found out they were in Mexico because somebody said, oh, they're out at the hacienda. And I was like, oh, okay, well, so, but why does she have a German name? But I think that had a lot to do with whoever was doing the translation, whoever wrote the script for the dubbing. But it's very atmospheric. It's shot in black and white. There's some decent camera work. I think the actors, when you see their body movements and everything, you can tell that they know what they're doing. It's just what's coming out of their mouths. And a lot of times the mouths weren't even moving and there were lines still coming out. So I would like to see a subtitled version of this movie because I think it's probably a good movie. So anyway, so that was Invasion of the Vampires. I would just recommend, don't watch an English dub because it's pretty bad. And Dolores, that's the one I was joking with you about, where the doctor says to Mexican Mrs. Danvers, that man must be a moron. All he can do is grunt. He must be a moron. And she says he is not certainly a moron because he just cannot speak. And then the doctor says, you mean he has no tongue? And she was like, well, that's what happens when you talk too much in this place. And I was like, I know that wasn't the original.
Yeah, you gotta love subtitles when it comes to that sort of thing.
Oh my gosh, it was terrible. But yeah, I would love to see the movie in the Spanish language with the subtitles because I think it's a good movie. Mm-hmm. So that was why I gave it 3 stars. I didn't blame the dubbing on it. Okay, so my top movies that I saw over the last month, I've already mentioned Horror of Dracula with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. I watched Mystery of the Wax Museum. Fay Wray is in it, but she was not as well known as she became after she did King Kong. She was still kind of a minor player. Even though she kind of had a career in silent movies. I know she was in, she made a movie for Erich von Stroheim, and he thought so highly of her. She was his leading lady in it. But I kept thinking, wow, Fay Wray hasn't come into this movie yet. And she, I think about 15, 20 minutes into it, there's kind of a Rosalind Russell type girl reporter who's actually the lead. But it's about a wax museum. The sculptor, he does these beautiful works, and his business partner decides that, they're broke, and a way for them to make some money is to burn down the museum and collect the insurance. And Lionel Atwill gets injured because they're battling. He doesn't want the guy to, set the place on fire. And then it jumps forward a few years, and Lionel Atwill has now set up a museum I think they were in New York. And it kind of goes from there. And there's some other things that I won't go into because they would kind of spoil the movie, but there's a big mystery surrounding things. So it's a really good movie. If you want to see Fay Wray in her pre-King Kong days, I would highly recommend it. Let's see. I watched The Maltese Falcon. Gave that 5 stars because it's great.
I mean, it's classic,
It's a classic.
Yep.
I caught, this is on HBO Max, Melise, who did the famous Flight to the Moon movie that I guess everybody has seen, where the rocket hits the moon. There is a 1 minute to 90-second short movie of his called The Infernal Cauldron, and it's on HBO Max. I don't know if it's on YouTube or not. And it's about two demons, a cauldron, and I guess these bad people. And it's just very quick. But the hand painting that they did is so beautiful. And they get this little story told in like I said, 60 to 90 seconds. So that was just an interesting little.
Yeah, I'm looking at an image from it right now. And I've definitely seen imagery from that before. And again, it's crazy because 1903.
Yes. So it seems like they have a few of his little short films on HBO Max. So if anybody just wants to take a look at that, and that's going to be early on in movies, like I said, Infernal Cauldron was like 90 seconds, might have been less than that, but that would just give you a chance to see it. What else did I look at? Postman Always Rings Twice, the original American version, because Hollywood had not wanted to touch the book for a long time because it was very controversial. And I read that there was a French and an Italian versions that were made either before World War II or during the war. So the United States, Hollywood decided to make one after the war, and it's part of film noir. The book was written by the same gentleman, James Cain, who gave us Mildred Pierce and Double Indemnity. But it's about Lana Turner, one of the most beautiful women that ever existed. She's in kind of a loveless marriage with Cecil Kellaway, which it cracked me up because Cecil Kellaway is English, but he's playing American. I think they came up with the reason why he has an English accent. But John Garfield, who had a really good career he didn't live very long, but he had a really good career. He just kind of plays a homeless dude that he says he has itchy feet. And so he ends up at this diner in California because they've got a help wanted sign out. And so he takes the job, and he and Lana Turner fall in love, and it just kind of goes from there. And people have always asked, why is it called The Postman Always Rings Twice? Well, they did ask the author. He kind of gave a reason, but, it was kind of a throwaway response. They sort of give a reason in the movie, and once you hear it in the movie, it kind of makes sense. But it's not going to be a happy-go-lucky story. It's along the lines of like Mildred Pierce and Double Indemnity, but the performances are very strong, and this is one of those cases of you have these two people and they're on opposite sides of the room, then you just feel that whatever between them. And Lana Turner, like I said, John Garfield, I thought he was very attractive in this, and he was not one of those like matinee looking stars. He was more like everyman. So he suited this role. And then when you see some of the, if you read about his life, he grew up in poverty. And he was working class. So this role suited him. So I think that's all. I would say watch it because it's considered a classic. Do not, I won't say don't watch the remake with Jack Nicholson and Jessica Lange, but what they had to show in that movie, Lana Turner and John Garfield just hint at, and I think the old movie is a whole lot better because things are implied and there's looks and there's lighting a cigarette or something like that. It's just those little subtle things that I loved from that era of Hollywood after the code, was brought in. But Jack and Jessica, I mean, they're on top of tables and flour canisters are flying and all of that. So I definitely recommend the older version. I saw After the Thin Man, which is a sequel to The Thin Man. And it stars Myrna Loy and William Powell. They play Nick and Nora Charles. And they are a wealthy couple who solve murders. And I laughed because I thought about Gary, because with this being the sequel, it's just like right after the original Thin Man movie. So Nick and Nora heading back home to California, and they live in San Francisco. Their mansion is up on, I think it's Nob Hill. And I thought of Gary because I'm like, look, there's no needles or human waste on the sidewalks or anything. This is San Francisco back in the 40s, the 30s and the 40s, when San Francisco was still kind of nice. So, but yeah, after the Thin Man, they solve another murder, and they got the adorable dog Asta. And yes, as I've told Rosie, Laura, you're right, pre-poo San Francisco. But yeah, Myrna Loy and William Powell, they have such chemistry together. And it's another of those movies where you have to listen, because these are not these lines where, it's like they're very witty. And it's the little things that they say to each other. And yes, the two of them do drink a lot. And I did want to be Myrna Loy when I grew up, but I did learn how to make a mean martini because I didn't grow up to be Myrna Loy. So, but that was fun. And let's see, what else did I look at?
I do want to say, Tina, that
yes.
You've been talking lately about your love for Christopher Lee, but I just saw a 2-hour, I guess you'd say, the documentary, but the old Mad Lad Count Dankula did a 2-hour little stream on Christopher Lee, and he is just one of those people that was at the right time,
yes,
that he needed to be. It's amazing, that dude's life.
When it came up, I forgot what show I was looking at, and they said, you do know that Ian Fleming based James Bond on Christopher Lee. They were, I think, cousins. And everybody was floored. And so I jumped online and was reading about his military career. And that, he may or may not have been a spy. And I knew that Christopher Lee, when he was a kid, I think it was his stepfather and his mother told him, we want you to meet these two gentlemen. And he's a kid. And so they bring him out and they introduce him to these two Russian gentlemen.
Yep.
These two Russian gentlemen participated in Rasputin's assassination.
Yep.
Oh my God.
It's crazy because he goes into the, from the childhood up to, his passing. And it's just like, this dude lived like, he has the platinum trophy for our, the PlayStation players. He's got the platinum trophy of living life.
Yes.
He even, there's a part where he went through the hoops just to marry a girl. And I guess the father, he was some kind of lord. I can't remember exactly. But he basically put Christopher Lee through the ringer just to get his daughter's hand in marriage.
Oh my God. But that just, when they were talking about that, and I was like, I didn't know he and Ian Fleming were related. That just blew me away. And then he was in a Bond movie. What was it? Golden Gun, The Man with the Golden Gun, I think.
I think that's the one, yeah.
Yeah, and where he had 3 nipples, or was it 4? Well, anyway, he had more than 2 nipples.
3 nipples, wow.
Oh my gosh. But the other movies that I saw called Dreyer's Vampire, which has grown on me over the years. The first time I saw it, I didn't particularly care for it, but then I've seen it several more times, and it's not for everybody. It's part talky, it's part silent. It is a horror movie, but I think the audiences, when it came out, they had already seen Lugosi's Dracula, and that was what they were expecting, and that's not what you get in Vampire. It's very atmospheric. There are things going on in it that I'm not quite sure what he was going for, but it works. But it's like you see shadows. Say a person will sit down, but there's no shadow, and the shadow will walk in later. Or you just see shadows and there are no people in the room. So it's a beautifully done movie. And I think as time has gone on, people appreciate it more and more. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you have to see it, because like I said, when I saw it the other day, that was like my fourth viewing of it. So it does get better to me over time, but that may not happen to everybody. And Dreyer, I don't know. I mean, he was very noted back in the silent era, but it's like he did The Passion of Joan of Arc, which is considered one of the greatest silent movies that was ever made. And he was given the money because the studio wanted a big extravaganza. And what he ended up doing was pretty much all the shots in the movie are either medium shots or close-ups, because he didn't want all that blockbuster feel to the movie. He wanted to concentrate on the characters. And the screenplay, so to speak, was based on the trial transcripts. But the studio was not happy with Joan of Arc when they got it, because it's like, well, where's the battles and stuff? And you just keep doing all these close-up shots. So his reputation had kind of been tarnished, and then he does Vampire, and it was like, yeah, well, everything just kind of collapsed after that. But
well, I'm not sure if you know. I'm gonna try to censor. Hopefully, this is a good word to use, Odin. I'm gonna try to censor my best. But actually, this is something I didn't know about Christopher Lee. He actually participated unwillingly in a soft core P.
Oh wow!
Okay, yeah, for that word, yeah. So yeah, porn. You can say that word.
Oh, okay.
As long as you're not, as long as you're not glorifying it or promoting it, yes, that you can use the word.
Yeah, he actually got talked into. They were, like I said, it was part of the little series that I saw. And he got talked in because it was a new premise for a movie, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this sounds great." Well, they used his voice for the background of that film. And it was just crazy to see it. And I saw someone in the comments mention Hammerfell, and he's done plenty of great movies for them. And then there was a little tit for tat between both of those also. I mean, it's excellent to. I can't talk enough. After I saw this a couple of days ago, I was like, Christopher Lee is a bad dude. He
was. That was the reason why I posted the link to that article about his military career. I put it on Discord because I was like, I'm reading it and I'm like, this is incredible that this guy did all this stuff, and this was just during the war,
right?
So, but the last movies. These are the last ones I saw. I'll just knock this one out real quick. It's on HBO Max. It's called Star 80. And before his sister came on the scene and just kind of knocked him off to the side, Eric Roberts was a great actor. He got an Oscar nomination, I think, for Runaway Train with Jon Voight. And then his sister popped up and everybody forgot, oh, Eric who? And it's like, yeah, he was around before she showed up. But Star 80 also stars Hemingway, granddaughter of Ernest Hemingway. And it's based on the true story of Dorothy Stratton. And I remember when this case happened, and this kind of threw domestic abuse into the limelight, like in a way that no one had ever seen before. So I'm not giving away any spoilers because it's based on an article called Death of a Playmate. But Dorothy Stratton, she's a young Canadian from Vancouver. She met this man named Paul Snider. She was working in Dairy Queen when he met her. And he saw something in her and decided he was, he's going to make her, big in something. I don't even think he knew at that point. And he was pretty much a sleazebag. She became a Playboy model, and then she was Playmate of the Year in 1980. She became involved with director Peter Bogdanovich, possibly was involved with Hugh Hefner. But her husband suddenly realized he was being pushed off to the side because Dorothy was kind of becoming more independent. She actually had some acting talent, from what I've heard. But they were going to get a divorce. She made the big mistake of meeting with him, and he murdered her and then committed suicide. And the reason why the story blew up the way it did was because I don't think the American public had heard a lot about the murder-suicide in that sort of way, and the whole, if I can't have you, nobody will. I worked way too many of those kind of scenes when I did crime scenes. And it was always the same mistake of the woman thinking, well, I'm going to go over and try to talk to him, and we'll try to talk this out before I go my own way. And she never went her own way because he always killed her. So seeing that, and it had been a while since I had seen the movie, but the performances are so good. Meryl Hemingway was very good. She captured Dorothy Stratton's, like, her warmth, her personality, the reason why people liked her. And Eric Roberts captured Paul Snider being a sleazebag and kind of a pimpish nature and a user. And he was never like Dorothy will do this and Dorothy will do that. It's always we, us, we, because he was going to ride her coattails. Like when he buys this expensive sports car, he's calling her up on the set numerous times saying, well, can you, all you have to do is just write the check so I can get this car. And it's like, so you're not thinking about her. You're spending her money. You're just thinking about yourself. So in a way, it's just very tragic. It's like Sharon Tate, because Sharon Tate had talent and then her life got cut short. So it's just it's a very sad story. So like I said, I really didn't give any spoilers because it pretty much, if you hear the name Dorothy Stratton, you go online and look it up, you're going to see everything that happened. I know that the writer of the article, she not only blamed Paul Snider, the husband, she also blamed Hefner because Hefner got Stratton into that life. And she blamed Peter Bogdanovich. So she blamed all three of them as, you used this girl, you used her up, and then she got murdered. Bogdanovich later married Dorothy Stratton's youngest sister. I have a lot of questions about that. Helped put her through school, helped put her through modeling school, and then married her, and there was like a 29-year difference in their ages.
Woo.
So I'm thinking he married her thinking she was Dorothy. That's just my impression. They got divorced, but I'm like, there's something, I don't know. It seems like a lot of obsession there, that you felt like, oh, I can marry the baby sister and I'm getting Dorothy because Dorothy died on me. So yeah, it's on HBO Max. And the other two movies that I will touch on, I love Ghostbusters Afterlife. That's all I'll say. I had a blast. We saw it, me and my brother went to see it. We saw it in XD because I don't want to deal with IMAX anymore. I had such a bad IMAX experience with Dune. But Afterlife was just so much fun. And that's what Star Wars fans wanted when they did The Force Awakens and Last Jedi and whatever the third one's called. That's what we wanted. Don't just throw away and kill off the originals because you want to bring us the new characters. You find a way of making that mesh. And yes, I cried at the end. I cried a couple of times, and my brother was crying, and it was like, but yeah, it was a fun time. I love the actress that played Phoebe, and like Laura and Olden were saying, she was carrying that movie on her back, but she carried it a whole lot better than a lot of grown-ups do. And I was very impressed with her. And I hope if she decides to stay in acting, yeah, there you go, Total Recall. I hope if she decides to stay in acting that she continues to find roles that, suit her so that, she can expand. But yeah, it was great. But my last movie, and this is my favorite movie of the year, because the year's almost up, is Last Night in Soho.
Nice.
That I saw the trailer and I wasn't sure what I was going into. And it wasn't until after I saw the movie when I went online and they were calling it a horror movie. And I said, yes, that's exactly what it became. It became a horror movie. If any of you saw Emma, the most recent version, Anya Taylor-Joy, she plays the girl back in the 60s named Sandy. The modern girl, I cannot remember the actress's name. I apologize.
Yeah, I same thing with me. I can never remember her name, but more recently she's been in a film called Old. By M. Night Shyamalan, Ding Dong.
Yes.
However, her really great performance, don't watch Old because that's a terrible film.
I'm not going to watch it.
Instead, watch her in a great film that is starring Ben Foster. Foster plays her dad, and it is a movie, and again, I hate when my mind does this to me, but I'm blanking out on Without a Trace. Leave No Trace. Sorry, Leave No Trace.
Oh, I've heard of that.
So it's a 2018 film called Leave No Trace. It is phenomenal. It is one of my favorite films of the last 10 years. But she is in that movie, and that's where I was. So her name is Thomasin McKenzie.
That's it. That's
so Thomasin McKenzie. So this is back in 2018, so several years ago. And so I already knew that she was talented then. So when I saw the trailer for this movie, and I hope that this might be one of the reasons why you decided to eventually go see it, was because I kept saying, like, I just really want to see this movie, just because of the fact that you have Anya Taylor-Joy, who is again a triumph of modern acting, and then also Thomasin as well, who is also fantastic. So I'm so glad to hear that you enjoyed this film.
I loved it so much, and it was playing at a little indie theater. This is right down the street from me. That, of course, it had closed during the pandemic, and then they had announced, we don't think we're going to reopen. And everybody, Bruce will know what I'm talking about, but everybody was so sad because I was like, yeah, I made a whole lot of happy memories there. I lost count of how many times I saw Raiders there when it played here for over a year, first run. Only Jaws and Star Wars had done that. And I was like, I would go out there every weekend to see Raiders. And I saw Master and Commander there. And it's like, you can get popcorn and a drink for like $7 total. And so when they reopened and I saw Last Night was playing there, and I was like, I'm going to go see this because the trailer really got me excited. And it's about just a young English girl. She gets accepted into design school. It's going to be her first time in London. She's possibly psychic, but that's kind of open to interpretation. And you already will see it in the trailer. She keeps, I guess, going back to the 60s, but we're not really sure. Is she time traveling? Is it a time vortex? We don't know. or is she dreaming it? Is she in some kind of a lucid dream? And she keeps seeing this young woman named Sandy, who is played by Anya Taylor-Joy. And then things just start getting too real. And that's where the horror aspect comes through. There are a couple of violent scenes in it, but they're not really overdone. It's not like slasher type violence, but it's just like somebody just takes the thread and just keeps tightening it and tightening it. And I kept saying, what else have I know? I've seen something else of Edgar Wright's. And so I went and looked at his filmography and was like, oh yeah, I've seen a lot more of his movies than I even realized. My brother has Baby Driver on Vudu. So I have to see that. I've been intending to, just never gotten around to it.
It's pretty fantastic. Like the score to that movie is phenomenal.
I have heard that, but
that's what I was going to ask if it was any good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but last night it was just it was so good, and a huge thumbs up to Diana Rigg. This is her last movie. And when the movie starts, it says to Diana, and I was like, what Diana is he talking about? And then when I saw Diana Rigg was in the movie, I was like, oh, this must have been her last movie. So it was. Now, a lot of you youngins will know her from Game of Thrones.
I say I have the page pulled up right now.
There she is. Oh my God.
The Queen of Roses, right?
Yeah.
The Queen of Thorns right there.
Oh, but see, I loved her as Emma Peel in the Avengers. Not those MCU Avengers.
The 1960s.
Yeah, that's the ones I saw in syndication, and I was like, I want to be Mrs. Peel one day because she was tough and she was beautiful and she was elegant and she could beat up people if she needed to. And if you're gonna watch the Avengers, do not under any circumstances watch the one with Uma Thurman and Ray Fiennes, the movie version. It's terrible. Go back and watch the original. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, and I was sorry that it was me and another woman were the only people in the theater.
Yeah.
And I saw the box office, and I was like, number one, the studio released an indie movie on 3,000 screens. What kind of sense does that make?
No.
I don't think they promoted it well, and Edgar Wright's going to be fine, but I just wish more people had seen it. Now it's getting ready to come out on home video. I saw it on that Blu-ray website. I think it's running around $32 for the 4K, but I'm already like, yeah, this is the movie. I'm getting it because I want this in my collection, but. Yeah, I would say of the movies that I saw theatrically this year, Last Night in Soho would be number one, Ghostbusters Afterlife would be number two, and Godzilla versus Kong would be number three. And that's like, that is so all over the place. I still want to see The Kingsman because I saw the trailer and I was like, well, that looks kind of cool.
Good, yeah.
It's got Rasputin in it. It's like, I can't go wrong with Rasputin, So I might see it, but no, of everything I've seen, Last Night in Soho is my number one for the year.
Nice.
So highly recommended. And yeah, that's what I've seen. I'm kind of, as usual, I'm all over the place.
Awesome. Well, while you were doing that, I decided to do a random giveaway of Total Recall on 4K Steelbook. I actually just picked it up today. It was on sale at Best Buy as I was going to pick up another copy of Ron as well. So I figured, hey, might as well. So the winner of the giveaway, only 2 people saw it and entered, but the winner of the giveaway, again, this is the Steelbook. It looks freaking gorgeous, right? It looks great. And it comes with the 4K, Blu-ray, and also digital copy code as well. But awesome one, you are the winner.
Oh,
good
nice.
sir.
Nice.
Congratulations.
So, awesome one. Congratulations. Claim your prize and email me, odinsmovieblog@gmail.com, and I'll be able to send that your way. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and end things here because I was trying to get around the 3 p.m. Slot to end things, just because I one, knew my voice wasn't going to be able to hold out for a whole usually we do the 3-hour streams, and I just knew my voice was not going to be able to hold out for it. And also I need to get some things ready because my parents are coming in tonight, so I just need to
Scrub that house.
Yeah, absolutely. Do a little vacuuming, and then of course pick up the little one at about an hour or so. But anyway, I did want to give a shout out to a few people. So first off, Rosetta, she is also sick, but has no voice, so she wanted to join today and was not able to. So again, shout out to Rosetta Allen for being a chosen, but she hopefully will be able to join us on Saturday. That is a reminder. Also, there will be a second one. There'll be a chosen number 2 stream, not that kind of number 2, but a number 2 chosen stream. Yeah, you're welcome for that one. And that will be on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So again, anyone who was on today is welcome to join back again. But obviously, we'll focus on people who were not able to share their own movie thoughts and weren't able to put kind of like what they've been watching or things they want to promote, etc. So we'll get to everyone else on Saturday for that. So also want to shout out, of course, Laura, who was on earlier, but her phone was getting really hot. And so she had to jump out, but she's still in the chat modding away. And of course, Laura is awesome. And also, of course, ZK Man as well, who had to drop out. He was having all kinds of connection issues. He's on the road. He will be here for Saturday, though. So that is awesome. And then I guess since I know Mr. Roy said he might, it's kind of like hit or miss. Is there anything that you did want to share, though, just before we wrap things up, since you're kind of up in the air for Saturday?
I don't really try to make it on Saturday. I really want to talk about Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Saw all 4 films. So.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Yeah.
Don't you mean all 3?
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's 4 films that I did. Yeah.
Well,
I
you
saw
mean
all 4.
3, and then the one was a torture, right, Mr. Roy?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, it was,
I think that the other 4th one, it's kind of like Toy Story 4. Yeah, they say it exists, but does it really? And I would say no.
Yeah, all I'm going to say is I think within like 20 minutes, I backed out of the film just to check to see if it was labeled a comedy.
Because I think it's funnier talking about it more so than anything else.
Yeah, I'll say that for Saturday.
Awesome. Well, that's great. So I'll just go ahead then and thank again Tina, Mr. Roy, and Dolores Ed, the newest member of the Chosen, for joining us. And
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for jumping on, and can't wait to hear more. Especially as far as movies you've been watching, things you've been watching, and your thoughts on that on Saturday as well. So thank you for jumping on today. All right, so absolutely. So we'll go ahead and end this bad boy. Please make sure you smash that like button before heading out. Light up that fire button on Odyssey. I know a couple people have been watching over there, in or out. For the one person that chatted over there, TZ Canadian Bear, TZ Canadian Beer. Thank you very much for being in that chat over there. And also huge shout out to everyone on the YouTube side of things as well. Thanks for being here and for having some great conversations in the chat. It's been great seeing y'all. I've been trying to highlight as many comments as I could throughout. And again, congratulations to Awesome One for winning the Total Recall 4K Steelbook. And every now and then, guys, I do random giveaways. And speaking of that, I do, of course, have a running giveaway going on right now for my Army of Asgard level and above people. So I'm picking in, more winners as we go on. But I also just want to say, as far as for next month, for December, get ready, because not only do I have another copy of Total Recall for that giveaway, but I also have 2 copies of Ron on 4K Steelbook. And I know I've showed this off earlier, but it is just freaking gorgeous. And I'm going to be giving a full review of this, and also because I was also sent the Terminator 2 4K Steelbook as well. And the releases are just gorgeous. I will say, though, since there might be some of these copies available some places, this is not for Terminator 2. This is not a new transfer. So this is the same 4K transfer. So it has what's called DNR. So like noise reduction, essentially. And so basically it doesn't look as natural it looks, quote, better, but they do so by basically smoothing it out artificially. And obviously for any, film fans, that that's just not usually a preferred method. But if you don't have it on 4K and want to get it on 4K, and you also recognize that James Cameron's probably never going to, touch this movie with being in Avatar land, this slipcover alone has me excited. Again, you take it off and you get the full-fledged Terminator image there. And I'm loving Best Buy. I don't know if you're watching this or not, or if you ever will hear this, or if anyone, but seriously, please keep doing these plastic covers on your steelbooks, because for collectors, it's just like all the great stuff. But anyway, shout out to all of my chosen joining me today, all those that could not join, and for those that are also supporters but aren't able to join for a wide variety of other reasons as well. So for anyone that's on the panel, I'm going to play the end credits, and so you won't be able to hear or talk to anyone while that's going on. So if you need to head out during that time, you're more than welcome to do so. And I won't be able to stay on for like maybe a minute after the video ends. But anyway, thank you all for being here. Please smash the like button, loud the fire button. You're all amazing people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. See you on again for Friday Night Tights. And I might be able to be Friday Night Tights depending on when my parents head out. I think they'll be gone by the time Friday Night Tights goes around. But if not, then Saturday morning. So I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed Thanksgiving. Thank you, Laura, for posting that in the chat. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for being my friend. You're welcome for the Golden Girls.
There you go.
Being stuck. Dolores, were you the one that said that was stuck in your head earlier?
Yeah, it's been stuck in my head since I woke up this morning. I haven't even seen Golden Girls in forever. I don't know why it came up.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
That's all I'll say. So anyway, you're all amazing people. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my November Patreon, Subscribe Star, and Locals members. Starting first off with Patreon, Andrew Hoyle, animation commentator, Brandon, Brian P., Christopher Bowman, Dolores Ed, Dion, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father. Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Harold Francis, Inflamed Wood, Jacob the Juice, JC, Jeffrey Toon, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Gomer Kyle 79, Laura the Modern Major General Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mondo Spieler, Mr. Peabody, On to June, Orange at Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Rosetta Ullen, Stan Andrian, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B, the Empress of the Universe. And a shout out to my Subscribe Star members, UAB, Mad Dog, Storm Tracker, The R, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stan 4, John B, Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J, Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / the new number 2, and J Rod, the Beer Guru, and of course, ZK Man. Thank you very much for supporting me over there. And to my 3 supporters over on locals.com, Kara Tharp, Bifford a Hobbit, and Robert Barnes. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and every video I do on the channel, check out that top link in the description below to find out how to sign up to the various levels that exist, including the most basic level where you get a shout out, the secondary level, the Army of Asgard, where you get that, plus access to a giveaways exclusive server where I give away things like 4Ks and Blu-rays and digital codes. All kinds of stuff, a lot of fun. You then also have the Keeper of the Bifrost level where you get all that stuff, plus access to an exclusive podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. You get to ask us questions, and you get also access to that and the entire library of podcast episodes that we have done. And then there is, of course, the Chosen of Valhalla level, where not only do you get all of that, but also in your first month, you get a t-shirt of your choice and sent to you anywhere in the world. Of course, just let me know your size and the color option that you want. It'll be sent to you that first month. And also, you get to be featured on on the once a month Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where we have a ton of fun talking about movies and projects and all kinds of stuff. Pretty much anything that the Chosen wants to talk about is on the table. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, check out that top link. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.